All right, so you guys sent in some seriously in-depth analysis of that Buccaneers and Ravens game.
Yeah.
And we're diving deep
Definitely a game to remember.
into the biggest takeaways for you today. So remember that back and forth game
Oh, yeah.
where the Bucs, they were in the lead, right?
They were.
Until, bam, Chris Godwin gets injured.
Tough break for them.
And it felt like, at least from what we saw, that's when Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, they just took over.
Yeah.
So today we're going to unpack what makes Godwin so vital, both on and off the field, and then explore, I think, what a lot of people are talking about, which is Lamar Jackson's kind of evolution as a quarterback.
Right. I mean, it's a fascinating snapshot of the modern NFL. You see how individual talent like Godwin's can just shift the entire momentum of a game. And then on the flip side, how a really strong team structure like what the Ravens have built can ultimately get you that W.
Yeah, and when I was looking through the commentary, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, they really captured, I thought, the emotional weight of Godwin's injury. They said it felt like the game was just over right then, even though, the Bucs were still ahead at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, you could feel it in the stadium, too, at the energy it just shifted.
Totally.
And it's not just, the emotional side of it.
Sure.
It's strategy, too. When you look at a depth chart, which is basically the team's roster ranked by position, you realize just how much Godwin means to that team.
Yeah.
He's not just one of their top receivers. I mean, he is, but he's a leader. He's the guy. So this injury, not only impacts their options for that game, but also their long-term game plan for the rest of the season. They've got to figure out how to fill that void.
It's a huge loss for them, definitely. And it's not just about filling the spot. It's the leadership aspect, too, that you mentioned.
Exactly.
Which is, it's intangible. Right. And it was interesting because it's not, I don't see this that often, where a team, they just keep playing late into a game.
Right.
When they're down, and by a lot, and they have a key player injured. I mean, they were down 21 points at one point.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely raises questions, right? Like, what are you actually playing for at that point?
Yeah.
Because it makes you think about that balance of risk versus reward. I mean, protecting your players is crucial, right?
Oh, for sure.
But so is that never give up attitude.
Exactly.
So it's a tough call. It's a tough call for the coaches.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's a tough call for the fans watching too. As a fan, are you thinking like, hey, let's pull back here, protect our guys?
Yeah.
Or are you like, no, play to the final whistle?
Right. You want to see them fight, right? Even if it seems like a losing battle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. But speaking of impact, and we were talking about the emotional impact, but Godwin, off the field.
Wow. Incredible. Particularly his work after that hurricane.
Amazing.
I mean, he organized fundraising events.
Yeah.
Visited shelters. He even helped distribute supplies himself.
Yeah.
Hands-on.
I mean, it really highlights how athletes, especially someone like Godwin, can be such powerful role models. Their influence, it just extends way beyond the field.
It does.
And it inspires entire communities, especially when they're going through these incredibly challenging times. It gives people something to rally behind.
It does. I think sports in general do that, but it's definitely amplified when you have an individual who really takes it to that level.
Yeah, it takes initiative, steps up.
For sure. So kind of shifting gears now to the other side of the field.
To the Ravens.
Lamar Jackson, I mean, he was on fire.
He was unstoppable.
Yeah, and all the sources that we got, they highlighted his growth as a quarterback, and it's something I've noticed too. He looks, I don't know, just so much more comfortable in the pocket.
Yeah. His dual threat capability, his ability to not only run the ball effectively, but to pass. I mean, it's truly remarkable.
Oh, he is, yeah.
He's always been a phenomenal athlete, right? We know that.
Right.
But his passing accuracy has noticeably improved. I mean, in this game alone, he completed 75% of his passes for over 300 yards.
That's amazing.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Especially when you're facing a defense like Tampa Bay's.
Right, exactly.
I mean, they're no slouches.
No, and what I think was impressive, and this is something that the commentators picked up on as well, is just his ability to read the defense and make those split-second decisions. You could almost see the wheels turning.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the perfect example of, how the quarterback position has evolved in the NFL. It's not just about throwing the ball far or even running fast anymore.
Right.
It's about understanding the entire game.
Yeah.
Anticipating your opponent's moves.
Yeah.
And making these clutch decisions under immense pressure.
Yeah.
And that's what separates the good quarterbacks from the great ones.
For sure. And I think that's the thing with Jackson that I've noticed is that he's elevated himself into that category now.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Where you can see he's not just reacting anymore.
Exactly.
He's thinking, he's 2 steps ahead.
He's orchestrating the game.
Yeah.
He's not just playing in it.
Yeah, exactly. And, you talk about the evolution of the quarterback position
Right.
and seeing how Jackson has kind of changed his game. But also, you look at the Ravens offense as a whole, and it's like it's so well coordinated. It's like a perfectly choreographed dance of speed and power.
It's a thing of beauty to watch, isn't it?
It is. And I think one of the sources called it a quick strike offense.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to describe it because it's not about these long drawn out drives anymore. It's about bam, 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 creating these opportunities for big gains, keeping that scoreboard ticking over.
Yeah, and you're right. I think they're at the forefront
Mm-hmm.
of this larger trend in the NFL towards explosive plays.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about maximizing those opportunities, making the most of each play.
And it's exciting to watch, right?
Oh, absolutely. As a fan, you're on the edge of your seat the entire game.
Because you don't know when it's going to happen, but you know it's going to happen.
Exactly.
It's a blast.
Yeah.
But I think, we've talked a lot about Jackson's talent.
Right.
But I think it's important to note that even with all his individual brilliance, he wouldn't be having this level of success.
Absolutely not.
Without a really, really strong team around him.
100%.
And I think that's something that sometimes gets overlooked. People get so caught up in the individual.
Right. In the stats.
That they forget it's a team sport.
Yeah. It's a collective effort. And the Ravens, they've got it all.
They do.
They've got a strong running game, a solid defense, and then you add Jackson into the mix. It's a recipe for success.
It is. It really is.
And I think that's what, ultimately championship teams are made of. It's not just about one superstar.
Right.
It's about a group of guys who play well together, who support each other, and who have that shared goal.
Yeah, for sure. So, just from this one game alone, there's so much to think about, right?
Absolutely.
You have Godwin's impact both on the field when he was playing and then off the field with, his community work and everything.
Yeah.
And then those tough choices that teams have to make, like when to keep fighting and when to protect their players. And then obviously Lamar Jackson is just his evolution as a quarterback. It's been incredible to watch. And I think like how all of this fits into this ever-changing landscape of the NFL, because it's not the same game it was 5 years ago.
No, it's constantly evolving.
It's evolving.
And it's exciting to see where it's headed.
Yeah, it is. It is. And, on that note, I have a final thought for you all.
Okay.
So given Godwin's injury, and we talked a lot about pushing through adversity and the risk versus reward, does this game, and specifically what happened to Godwin, how does it change maybe your view of a player's commitment to the team versus maybe their own well-being? Like, where's that line?
That's a really good question.
It's something I've been thinking about a lot.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes you pause and think about, the bigger picture here.
Yeah, for sure.
And where our priorities lie as fans.
Yeah.
Like what do we value more? Is it winning at all costs?
Right.
Or is it the health and well-being of these players?
It's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's definitely a question worth pondering.
Absolutely.
So thank you all for diving deep with us. As always, keep those sources coming.
Yeah, keep them coming.
And we'll catch you on the next step dive.
See you then.
Bye.